All right, we're here with Ryan Vaughn, and we're doing the reflection uh, session over his observation that we planned for. So, how do you think it went?
Uh, I think it was okay. It could have went better. I feel like we got off task a few times, but other than that, I feel like it was a decent uh, lesson for the kids.
Where in the lesson do you feel they got off task?
I feel like we got off task when we were taking the notes, and then when they were doing the problems themselves, I noticed that some kids would get off task until I would walk around. So instead of me standing beside them constantly, I just kind of want them to be on task the whole time.
And so, did you do something though that helped them get back on task?
Besides just walking around now.
Did you? Are you sure? I think you did.
I don't think I did. Did I?
Yeah, sometimes you called on people to ask
Oh,
questions, and
oh, like during like the notes or the mini lesson part.
mhm.
Yeah, calling on them to make sure that they're answering if they're not paying attention. I call on them to make them answer. But like when they were doing the work themselves, just walking around.
Because don't you think, like, when you call on students, they realize, oh, he might call on me, so maybe I should pay attention.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a strategy. And then, so when you say we got off task, you mean the students weren't on task as much as
Yeah.
you want them to be.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything else that you could have done to help them be a little bit more on task?
Uh, Maybe split them up into different groups where they're not next to their friends, so they're not trying to talk about what they're doing tonight or next weekend, and actually doing their work with the people that they're sitting with.
So have you thought about doing that, doing some purposeful grouping
Yes.
with them? Now that you're getting, I mean, we're how far, 6 weeks in about? So
Yeah.
you're really getting to know them, and so.
Yeah, know who they want to hang out with and if they're going to work next to that person or not and stuff.
Okay. Do you have some grouping techniques in mind that you might use, or?
Um, Not necessarily. I always grew up being grouped with someone lower or in the middle as well, just in case, help out
Okay.
with each other.
Okay.
Because some have strengths and others have weaknesses, so you're helping with each other on their strengths and weaknesses.
Some like heterogeneous
Yeah.
grouping kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, what comparisons might you make between the lesson you had planned and envisioned and the one that you taught?
I feel like it went pretty much on point what I wanted to do that day. Even with the little miscellaneous off-task parts of the lesson, we still got done what we needed to get done, and we're able to finish what needed to be finished.
And do you feel like what were they learning that day? They were learning, was it one variable, two-step equations?
Yeah, one variable two-step equations, because we were reviewing to set up for what's going to happen in the later weeks for solving with variables on both sides.
And I think you were using models with
Mhm.
inequalities.
Yeah, we
and
used the
things
algebra
like that.
tiles on the board. I drew them, and they had them on their desks.
Okay, what was your formative assessment?
When they were doing the group work, I walked around and checked the answers that they got and the work that they were doing to show their answers.
So I think you assigned like 3, 5, and 7. You did
Mhm.
the foldable or the
Yeah,
glue
they
in
did the
thing in their
odds.
notebook.
Yeah.
And then you had them do 3, 5, and 7. And so, yeah, you walked around.
Yeah.
And then I was observing about feedback because you wanted to be better at feedback. How do you feel like you did about the feedback?
Uh, I feel like I didn't initiate it enough. I feel like I was too busy running around trying to help other kids, like with problems that they may have had with the questions, to give certain feedback to certain kids for doing what they're supposed to and getting the work done properly and doing it right.
So do you have some ideas like for the future?
I feel like the grouping may help. That way they can ask their partner instead of having to always rely on me for help.
And maybe doing like group roles, having a leader in the group kind of, or... Okay. Can you think of anything else that you would...
I don't think so.
Okay, I think Ms. Duncan's gonna come in. Yeah. All right, so then, let's see, what do you want to stay mindful of from now on? I mean, we know the feedback, so maybe something within the feedback, and then anything else that you want to add to that, things you want to stay mindful of.
I guess just making sure it's more positive feedback so the kids are feeling more confident about what they're doing versus just showing them how to do it. Like when they call me for help, just say, you know how to do it, just let them work it out while you stand there so they can see it, and then give them purposeful feedback saying that they're doing it right.
There's a thing called constructive struggle, meaning like you might lead them, but don't hold their hand through it, so that they struggle a little bit through it, kind of like metamorphosis.
Yeah.
Like that's how things turn out and grow, is through that constructive struggle. So it sounds like maybe you're talking about that, like being there for giving them the confidence,
Yeah.
but encouraging them.
I feel that that's all that need. Like some of the kids need is like me. They just want me to stand there because they don't feel confident enough in themselves to do it. They want to make sure that I'm nodding my head yes or telling them that that's right. So
Do you think that the groups, having a group leader or somebody that they could rely on right there as well, might help with that as well?
I do. I think that they'll be able to, if I split them up heterogeneously, that they can rely on somebody in the group to help them, like somebody that knows what they're doing, can show them like, yeah, you're doing it right, or no, let's do this, or something like that. That way, necessarily, I'm not always having to stress about giving feedback because one of my leaders is giving feedback in the class as well.
Would you like maybe even teach them how to give good feedback and
Yeah.
things like that? Have you done that before already?
No.
No? Okay, it's something to look forward
yeah.
to. All right, because that's something else you could be mindful of.
Yeah.
Can you think of anything else in that lesson that you'd be mindful of?
Staying on task, making sure I hit every group evenly, not leaving groups out.
Okay. Yeah, because we have a tendency sometimes I notice people, and I know I do it too, you teach toward one part of the room, or the front of the room, or the back of the room, and you have a tendency to, that's just human
leave
nature,
them
I
out.
think. Mm-hmm. And how, do you have a way, like a plan to make sure you do that, or you're just gonna?
No, I do walk around the class, but I feel like maybe walking around instead of back and forth in the front, kind of walk around the whole room while I'm teaching. That way I make sure they're on task, because proximity matters. When I stand next to them, they do their work more.
So using proximity
Yeah.
to keep them on task is
Yeah.
another thing. All right, and then so how might you apply your new learning or how might you ensure you maintain focus? Like maintain focus on proximity and getting all around the room, or on the feedback, or you've said several things. How might you ensure that you maintain that focus?
I guess leave myself little notes or reminders to make sure that I'm moving around the classroom, or a little note saying to give feedback or something. That way I know that it's not just sitting in my head, that I know that I have it physically written down, so I know that I need to do that while I'm teaching.
Okay. So cues.
Yeah.
Little cues. What about, like, how I drew the picture? You could almost, even as you do it, it's hard to do that when you're teaching, but if you really want to be better at it, like making yourself a chart and like making a mark every time
Yeah.
you go to a group until you train yourself to do it. That's just something that
Yeah.
came to my mind.
That could help.
Okay, anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. What about staying on task, the kids staying on task, maintaining focus of kids staying on task?
I can do a better part, I guess, when I'm walking around. I think that'll help more with staying on task, because I do have a tendency just walking around the front of the room instead of all around the room, so I can get to catch those kids in the back and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to, kind of thing.
Okay, so the proximity.
Mhm.
All right, and then as you're hooked on this conversation, has it helped you, has it supported your learning, helped you think through things a little bit more?
Yeah, it definitely showed me some of the weaknesses that I have in my classroom that I know that I need to fix and that I need to work on and grow there, basically with the on-task issues and giving feedback and stuff.
And then how might you incorporate this process into your own thinking? Like if I wasn't sitting here, how could you incorporate it?
Not too positive.
But it
I
what?
said I'm not too positive.
What do you mean?
I guess just remembering these questions myself, and as I go through it, like as I teach my lesson, go through and like, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Is this what I wanted to do? Is that what I need to
Okay.
do? Kind of thing.
And probably the PLC notes hit on
Yeah.
it a little bit when you guys do the PLC notes and
Yeah,
PLC.
They definitely
And then
help.
we also have a swivel that records you. and you just set an iPad and it follows you around the room and it will record you teaching and you can watch it yourself, and instead of you you can
Copying myself.
yeah, and you'd be the only one like to see it. Nobody else has to see it, and then you could reflect on it.
I might could try that.
So.
Maybe. If I
Right.
get confident enough.
I know, but you're the only one watching it.
Yeah,
And
I
so
know,
you could
but
just
still, I
you
don't
could
know
go
if
home
I'm
and-
confident enough to watch myself teach.
Okay, that's fair. That's honest, though. It is hard, like, but you could go. That could be your Friday night entertainment with your wife. I guess you're at football games. But
Yeah.
Saturday night
Saturday
entertainment.
night entertainment. Watching me teach my classroom.
Right. All right. Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.